Hi everyone, I'm Annu, Customer Success Manager at Amoeboids, and today we are gathered to talk about how you can track your team's pulse using UpRaise for recurring surveys with an automation, right? So throughout the 45 minutes, I'll be talking about how you can use UpRaise right within Jira to automate your surveys that will help you to track your team's pulse or automate these surveys on different perspectives to gather insights from your teams and how you can work on the different insights that you get using these surveys. So we will be talking about these points. So this is our agenda for today. First, I'll talk about some common challenges when it comes to collecting feedback from multiple teams that you have in your organization. Then, why continuous insights matter when it comes to working with your teams day in, day out. Um, I'll also talk about how Appraise app integrates within Jira to manage your surveys for different track for different perspectives or from different kind of motives, I will say. Then I'll give you a quick overview of Appraise surveys. Then we will do a quick live demo where I'll be showcasing what kind of automation is available within Appraise and how you can set up the entire workflow of automating your service within Appraise. We will also talk about the insights within Appraise that are available using reports function. And then we will talk about some use cases, and then I'll leave some time for your questions at the end of the session. So let's begin with the first part of the agenda. That's common challenges faced by teams, right? Most of the times it happens, these feedback tools are not within Jira, which will affect the adoption because your teams are working in Jira every day. They are managing their projects. They are managing all their tasks within Jira, not just the development or tech teams, but as we know, Jira can be used by even non-technical teams, and they would have their regular tasks within Jira. But if these tools for gathering feedback are outside Jira, then they have to do a separate login, and they have to, take time out to look at those feedbacks out of Jira, which hampers the adoption. And if people have not adopted the tool well, the process cannot be, go for longer durations, or it will not give you any kind of achievement of goals that you have been planning using these feedback tools. Then if automation is not the part of the tools that you're using, it is really painful for people managing these feedbacks to keep up with manual follow-ups, because in terms of enterprise customers, there are going to be bigger teams and multiple teams. And if you ask them to do the manual follow-ups with teams, it is going to be the most painful task for the managers, because it drains a lot of time and they cannot focus on their core work that they are supposed to do. Because of the manual feedbacks, there is a strong possibility of delay in feedback, because people are not, well informed about the feedback that they are supposed to provide, or even the surveys are not distributed well within time, and overall it contributes to getting delayed feedback. And then you might detect those serious issues within your process after it's too late. right? So again, that will have another different major impact on your processes altogether. Then surveys are scattered, inconsistent, and forgotten, right? So like I said, if you are using multiple tools to manage these things, then your feedback remains scattered. Because you are doing all these things manually, it will always be inconsistent, because it is possible that you are supposed to do a weekly survey or bi-weekly survey, but since people are tied up with their own work, manual follow-ups are delayed, and then the inconsistency is automatically created there unintentionally. And sometimes people might forget to get those follow-ups or roll out that surveys, right? And all of this will again result into lack of ownership for the people, whoever is responsible for taking care of all these surveys for different teams in your organization. So overall, these are the common pain points or the challenges that we have noticed, which is why we have UpRaise within Jira that will help you to manage these surveys seamlessly. Why continuous insights matter, right? So the most important point is that when you are checking your team's pulse, it is majorly for ensuring that there are no burnouts, there are no blockers in the process, there are no misalignments. Everyone is on the same page. People are happy with whatever process you are rolling out or you are following. So that's all matters when it comes to any kind of process that you are rolling out within your organization, be it your team, be it your any kind of process that you are rolling out within your organization. So that's why regular insights matters a lot. When you have regular insights from the team, they feel heard, and you can take quick actions which results in the strengthened team, proper culture, and engagement between your between the peers and managers and so on. When you have the strong team or strong culture, it automatically improves the quality collaboration within your team. So this graph keep going up when you are working with multiple or your own team in this manner, right? It helps managers to act based on the real data, because system is automated, everything is consistent, people are also sharing feedback, and ultimately it results in better action items, clear insights for the managers to work upon, which builds the transparency across the organization. Because if you have such process, such automation within your organization for each of the team, it will definitely reflect on the organizational level, because we know that we are just connecting small dots by setting up the proper culture, still strengthening all your teams within the organization, which definitely results in a stronger organization, which will have the best culture for their teams. Now, so that's why we introduced surveys within UpRaise that are automated surveys. Specifically, I would like to emphasize on that. And let us see how these surveys can be, can help you, and how exactly these surveys are rolled out. Before going to the live demo, I'll just give you quick pointers here. So this is a quick overview of how UpRaise surveys work within your Jira. Since UpRaise sits within Jira, its tight integration with Jira helps you to set this entire workflow very seamlessly. So, like I said, you don't need any extra tools. Everything remains within Jira, tied up with your daily workflow. Then easy survey creation within UpRaise forms module. So out of different modules that we have within UpRaise, forms is one of the modules where you can create those templates, which are basically your questionnaires that you can save and create one time and use them multiple times using the automation. So automation will, so you just have to create that template once, and then you can automate it on the recurring cycles with the help of automation module within UpRaise. these surveys are very easy to configure, very easy to send to the right people, because UpRaise allows you, UpRaise has one functionality called segments, which is basically a saved filter of group of people. So you just create a filter of your people that you want to send survey to, you save it once, and then you can configure it within the automation, and then system will take care of sending those surveys to the right people with right at the right time, because we have different triggers that we'll talk about in a bit. And overall, these surveys are easy to manage, and easy to manage even after post distribution. So it's not only about creating these surveys and distributing them. UpRaise also takes care of providing insights after distributing those surveys, right? You can you can use reports module to use to get the insights. You don't have to worry about asking people whether they have completed or not. UpRaise provides a very seamless view where you can see how many people have completed those forms and how many are pending, and whoever is pending to submit those forms, system will take care of sending automated email notifications, so you don't really have to remind them to complete the form within the given timelines, right? So it's from the creation to managing those distributions, getting those insights, and reminding people to complete the survey within given time. Everything is taken care by UpRaise, with the help of different modules like forms, automation, company directory, etc. So everything is caught up here. Now, this is just a quick brief in terms of what kind of insights you can get from the from UpRaise reports based on the different surveys you are creating. So once the surveys are distributed, people have completed their responses, everyone has filled up those forms and submitted their responses. It's time for the manager to look at the reports, to look at the insights, how people have been responding to these forms, right? Because as we know, it is a recurring survey that you are sending out to your team, right? So for example, you are creating a survey which is to check your team's pulse on a regular basis, how they are doing, how they are finding the new processes or anything about that. And these surveys are going to be recurring, like maybe weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, and so on. You are sending out the same survey with the same questions to the same people, but the timelines are different, right? You are sending it on month. Whatever people have responded in this month to the same form, to the same question, the answers could be different in another month, right? So you get to compare these forms with the past responses, and you can analyze, okay, how people are differently responding to these forms. So we'll see some sample forms as well in terms of aggregate forms or comparison aggregate report and comparison report of these templates and the forms that we will be distributing. So this will help you to take proper actions based on the insights system has provided. So let's look at the quick demo where I'll be explaining you how exactly UpRaise works. So I'm navigating back to UpRaise. So this is the forms module that I was talking about a couple of minutes back. And in the templates tab, you will be able to see different types of templates here, right? So these are completely customizable, and a few of them are like survey forms here, right? So of course, there are different types of forms within UpRaise, but today we will be specifically focusing on the survey templates here, right? So I'll just quickly show you how exactly the interface looks like when it comes to creating a survey, and I'll take you back to one of the existing survey that I have created, right? That there are going to be different templates, right? Whether that form should be assigned to UpRaise admin or reviewers manager. Reviewer here is the team member who is filling out that form, right? So whoever is supposed to take the next action after completing the survey, you can choose the workflow according to that. Most of the time it is going to be reviewers manager, because managers are taking the actions based on the insights or the responses they are getting out of these surveys, right? Then you add a name of your survey. So for example, survey for, change management, right? I'm just giving some name here. And here you can see the distribution mode. It is possible to distribute these forms manually, but we are focusing on automation today. So I'll select this automation option. So this form remains available to automate within the rules and actions that we are going to talk about. Now, this is the form builder. If you click on section, you can create section-wise forms, right? So for example, in terms of onboarding performance, onboarding surveys, you might have different sections like how did the new employee think about how the new employee think about the hiring process after hiring, once they are onboarded, how they feel about the onboarding process. So you can add these different sections based on the questions that you are adding. Then in each section, we will be able to add multiple questions here. Or if you don't want those sections, just a list of questions, you can just simply add questions using these options. And you can see the type of questions that are available here. And these are completely customizable. You can change these number of stars, you can change the labels here, you can add your question, you can make it scoreable, non-scoreable, mandatory, you can add an extra comment, and so on. So when these forms are scoreable, you get the score out of the entire survey. If you want to, based on those scores, if you are going to have some metrics, some KPIs, and so on, based on that, you can decide whether these forms are supposed to be scoreable or non-scoreable. When we talk about these scores, if you are creating section-wise forms, then these sections can also be scoreable, right? So for each section, so for example, onboarding experience, you will have a end score after completing all the questions of that particular form, like 4 out of 5 for onboarding experience, or 3 out of 5 for hiring experience, right? So based on that, you can take actions, and you can reach out to that employee why they think it's 3 out of 5, what can be improved, and so on. So you can take this further to the next level based on the responses you have got from the relevant team members here. So in this way you can create your templates. I'll go back to the templates tab and I'll show you one of the existing template here, right? So let me open one of the survey here. So for example, this employee onboarding survey, right? If I click on view here and go next, you'll be able to see that I have added a couple of questions which are basically yes, no type of questions, right? So in this way, you can add multiple questions based on your what kind of survey you are conducting. Now, once this survey is completed, right, you go to automation module of UpRaise and automate the entire process. On the welcome screen, we have a quick preview how exactly automation work. You can also look at some use cases with detailed documentation that we have added, and then you can start your first rule that you want to create. Now, I'll just give you a quick brief and I'll again go back to the existing rule that I have created. So you add a name of the rule. So for example, this is, let's say, onboarding survey, right? And then you can either trigger it manually if you want, or you can schedule at interval. In terms of onboarding survey, of course, in schedule at interval won't work because you don't want to distribute onboarding surveys on monthly or weekly or daily basis. Rather, it would be on a specific trigger available in the system, which could be simply the profile attribute change, right? So for example, employee status, right? So if someone's employee status has been changed, in that case, this particular form, this particular rule will be executed, and whatever actions related to survey are there in this particular rule, those will be executed, that particular survey template will be distributed, and so on. So this is how you can use these different triggers. If you are collecting your so if you are collecting or gathering insights from your team on weekly basis, it could be an example of let's say uh, the sprint closure survey, right? After every sprint closure on weekly basis, you may want to, gather insights about the sprint, how exactly it's gone, and what you can improve, what's gone right, what's gone wrong, and so on. So you can use that. You create such kind of surveys on weekly basis or monthly or daily basis. So based on the how frequently you want to gather these insights and responses from people, you can use these different types of triggers here. Once you are done with that, so you will be also able to see that you can select the start date, you can select the time, how many occurrences you want for each of the survey, and so on. So you can select these options, and this is completely seamless in terms of how you want to schedule this. Even if any rule fails, you will be able to make sure that the relevant people are notified about the rule success or the failure. Now, I'll just quickly save this rule. And then we have a precondition. This is one of the important parts here. So what happens is in UpRaise, like I told you, you can create a list of people and save that filter within your company directory, right? So for example, if I go back here, I'll just quickly open the same, right? So I'll just take a moment to talk about company directory and then we'll come back to automation. So here, this is the company directory module where you will have all your users that are coming from your Jira. Those are auto synced here. And you will have your teams created, designations, jobs, etc. created within UpRaise when you set up UpRaise initially. And you can create different segments here, right? So for example, here I have created a development segment. If we click on edit, you will be able to see that you can apply different filters here, right? So maybe people coming from specific teams or have a specific manager or maybe with specific designations, statuses, etc., etc. So you can utilize these filters and save these filters. So basically, these are saved filters or group of people to which we call as segments. So these segments are used in this precondition to ensure that this form is distributed to relevant people. So here in development segment, I have, let's say, 10 people. This form will be, when this rule is executed, the subsequent action with survey form will be distributed only to the people who are in this segment. And since these filters are saved, they will be dynamically updated whenever that filter criteria matches with any user. So you don't really have to worry about updating that filter as well. That will be automatically managed. And then we will have the action here, right? So we have decided what trigger is there. We have decided to whom we want to send this form. Now let's see what survey we are going to send. So at the moment, you can send messages to Slack, you can create a new work item, but today we are talking about survey. So let's see what kind of surveys you can distribute here, right? So here already the action name is distribution form, and then you can select relevant surveys from here, right? So for example, employee onboarding survey is there. I'm going to select that one. And I know, okay, from the distribution date, which is the start date, for how many days this form should be open, this survey should be open for people to add their responses. So let's say it should be open for 7 days in case of a weekly survey. If it's monthly survey, then maybe duration can be longer. It's up to you based on the use case that you have. And if you select, you turn on this toggle called auto add reminders, based on the duration from start to end date, system is automatically adding couple of reminders for people who have not completed form towards the end date of that form, right? And this way you completely save this form and you just relax, because system is going to take care of sending this survey based on the configurations you have done, and you just have to gather those insights and take the further actions based on the responses you're getting, right? So if I go here and open this employee onboarding survey, I'm sorry, so there was one more survey which was, let's say, created for sprint closure, which is again similar to the one previous one. Here also I have selected preconditions, distribution of form, and so on, right? So in this way, you can set up this entire distribution. Once this is done, whenever any form, any rule is executed, it is distributing the form, so you can keep a track on the statuses of these execution from the logs, right? So this form was distributed earlier. If I click on view responses, it will take me to the view responses page where you will be able to see, okay, how many people have completed that form, what all details are available here, are like status and to whom this form is assigned, what was the score if that form was scoreable, and so on. If you want to look at the responses, you just simply open that form and look at the responses also. In this way, you'll be able to complete the entire process from creating template to distributing it with the automation, and later on looking at the responses and reports to take the further actions. Here you can also notice there are different aspects in terms of you can gather feedback using feedback module. All of that will be available here. If you want to look at the issues people have worked on and so on, you can do all of that. Even you can look at the previous responses. So like I said, when you are distributing the same template again and again, you may want to look at the previous responses. So you can simply load the previous response of the same distribution and the template from this particular form. So instead of this, the past form will be loaded on this UI, right? So this is about the entire automation process. Now let's look at some reports, right? So in terms of reports, you'll be able to create some reports like aggregate report, comparison report. Since this is my test instance, I might not have like, I'll be showcasing some pre-created template, aggregate report and comparison report that I have already fetched from another system that I have, right? So this is one of the aggregate form where I have selected a template, I have selected the distribution, and I can select team members as well, right? So you can decide whether what all team members you want to look at, or you can just go with all the team members that you want. You click on apply, and it provides you insights on how many, like out of 3, how many people have responded, and how they have responded to each of the questions, right? So for example, 1 star has been added, responded by 1 user, or 2 of them have selected 3 stars option. You can look at the averages and so on. Similarly, if you have different types of questions, based on that, you'll be able to look at the different graphs as well, right? And this is how you get the insights into the reports. This is just one aggregate report. If we look at the comparison report, then you will be able to compare 2 reports side by side. In past surveys, 3 people have responded, but in current survey, only 2 have responded in the latest one. So you can see why this has happened, why there is this change in terms of getting responses. In terms of other aspects also, you will be able to see, okay, to the same question, last time 2 of them have, um, um, maybe this is not the right example. So for example, in this case, 1 of them have selected 1 star and 0 users selected 1 star, or so on, right? So, or in this case, 2 of them have selected 3 star, none of them have selected 3 stars, right? So you can take actions on this. You can reach out to these peoples or do one-on-one meetings if needed, or take any kind of relevant actions based on the insights that you're getting here. So similarly, you can just compare between 2 distributions from the same, for the same template or the different templates and so on, and check the trends based on how people are responding. So this was about reports. And yeah, that's how you can manage your surveys, etc. I'll quickly also talk about some distributions as well. So in the distributions tab, you will also be able to track same distributions here, right? What if I want to look at all the distributions that have happened in past? In that case, you go to the distributions tab and you check the distributions. You see, you click on view responses and check all the responses. Even you can generate these reports right from here, from the reports tab, and get the aggregate or comparison report for the same exact form that you are looking at, right? And you can notice that it is possible to distribute those forms manually. So if it is, or automatically with the automation. So if you have these automation icons here, that means you have distributed these forms automatically. So this way you can manage different kinds of surveys within your organization, keep a check on your team's pulse, see how exactly they are doing, what needs to be improved, whether they are happy or not happy, and how things are working overall within your different teams, and how you can take actionable, how you can take proper actions on what's, on the possible loopholes that are there, or what you're doing great, and how you can keep that thing doing for longer durations, for longer time consistently. So this will help you to take those actions, make those decisions, set your goals, and do that thing consistently in this way. So yeah, that's all about the survey part, the demonstration part. I'll go back to the presentation once again, since we are done with the live demo. Here are some use cases that we have heard about in terms of automating surveys or conducting surveys within your organization. So most common is the pulse survey, where you just want to check quick temperature to catch burnouts, confusion, maybe some blockers that are already there early before retros, or any escalations that hamper your, in a in a wrong way, or makes it difficult for you to again catch up with the situation that you have landed in. Then there are sprint retrospectives, where you can do simple consistent surveys with the same retro questions, but again it will be automated, so it remains consistent, tracked over the time, and you will be able to take actions, on right actions at the right time on those retrospectives. Team health check is another major use case, because you always want to know how our teams are doing, right? You can track the morale, and talk about the blockers across the sprints, or instead of waiting for retros, this gives you a structured insight automatically after every sprint. So in this way you can keep a check on your teams, keep check on the team health, and make sure that everything is running smoothly, everything is working fine, and so on. Then there are project level feedback. You can align across different functional teams, and feedback is tied to directly with teams with actionable insights again. So even so, like I mentioned earlier, I created one segment for a specific team, right? So in that way, you can create those segments and ensure that surveys are sent to the specific team where you are working on a specific project, and so on. So you can gather feedback or responses via these surveys from those specific bunch of people with whom you are working on. And then change readiness and process feedback survey. A lot of time we have seen that we made a lot of changes in processes, or we plan to make those changes in the processes, and before taking any actions, it's important to check whether this is going to work on with the teams or not, whether this is going to work with the people or not. Before making those straightforward changes within the organization, maybe you want to do a quick check about how people think about the specific process change that you want to bring, right? So you can do a quick survey and take insights, and accordingly plan the change that you are thinking about. This is before making those changes. After making changes, also you may need to check how people are thinking about the changes that you have made in the process, right? Whether whatever we have done is going correctly or it needs improvement. If it's going correctly, what went right that we can work on, that we can continue, and make that a consistent pattern, to ensure that whatever process that we have rolled out, whatever efforts we have taken to make that change in the organization is consistent and working well with everyone. There are no loopholes. and everyone is on the same page. So in this way, you can do different types of surveys. These are like, there are a number of use cases, but these are some quick picks from our side that we have heard, most commonly. Then, if you have any questions, we can just leave that time, remaining time out for any questions that you might have. So over to you. And just wait for possibly a couple of more seconds to see if there are any questions. Otherwise, it will be a wrap for today's session. Okay, so sounds like no one has any questions. So if you want to try UpRaise and automate your surveys right within Jira, you can start doing that now. You can just do a check our UpRaise app on the marketplace. You can scan this QR code to get the link to our UpRaise app on the marketplace, install it on your Jira and try it out today.